G'day and welcome to the video. In this video I'll be making Geralt's boot dagger from the Witcher series on Netflix. I got the idea for this build from watching this Todd's Workshop video on YouTube. Link to the video will be in the description, so go and have a watch. Now on to the making. Since this project is only a short and simple one, while I'm working my grown-up job over the summer holidays, I thought I'd show you how I draw my templates, which is pretty unorthodox. Here I have already drawn out a foundation for the dimensions of the template, and here's how. I started off by finding a frame in the video which allowed me to work out the length of the dagger. This is the best one I could find, so I stuck a ruler on my forearm and estimated the length to be 185mm or 18.5 centimeters. Next, I needed to work out the length of the handle in comparison to the total length. I used this image to find this. I held the ruler in my grasp, like in the image, and worked out the length of the handle for my tiny hands to be 80mm. After that, I used another image with the measurements I had already worked out to guess a proportional width for the handle and the start of the blade, which were 26mm and 22mm respectively. To finish off, I decided on the dimensions for the handle cutout and the U-shapes below the blade and marked it all out as a connect the dots worksheet to make the drawing process more therapeutic and nostalgic. Using my pencil, I started to connect the dots, staring at the images intensely back and forth so I could draw out the template as accurately as possible. Once the basic shape was done, I perfected the drawing off camera, to a point where my criticising eyes were happy with how it looked, which took a while and used up a lot of rubber, but damn, doesn't it look good. I photocopied the drawings several times and used the photocopy versions as the templates. I then cut them out as accurately as possible. For this build, and for the first time, I'll be using this mild steel with a thickness of 5mm. Before this, I had never worked with metal, so you guys are going to learn with me. How exciting! I placed the template as close to the edge of the sheet as to not waste any metal and to not make more work for myself later on. Then I used this fine tipped permanent marker and proceeded to draw around the outside of the template. Now, it's time to cut the shape out. I start off by using this coping saw to cut through the 5mm steel sheet. I soon realised that I was using the least efficient tool for the job and it was going to take a long time to cut through. So I decided to level up to using a hacksaw, which does the job much faster. Once I'd separated the dagger cutout from the steel sheet, I had to find a way to more precisely shape the dagger, and that's when I remembered about Grindr. No, not the dating app, but the tool. This tool. Excuse the crotch shot, I know you were looking. Using the grinder was very intimidating at first, but the more I used it, the more comfortable I got with the casual molten metal sparks ejecting out the sides. but isn't it pretty? Next, I used my sanding machine to tidy up the outline of the dagger and made sure not to cross into said line. Kinda like staying within the lines when you're colouring something in, though this time I'm only colouring outside the lines. After I had the dagger neatly shaped, I used this round file, roughly the same width as the notch, to file a wonky U shape into both sides. YouTube doesn't like naughty words, so you'll just have to fill in the blanks yourself. Now that the dagger is shaping up nicely, I moved on to marking out where I wanted the handle cutout to go. To cut out the metal while staying within the lines, like you do, I needed to drill several holes. Before that, I marked out where the holes needed to go, spacing them 5mm from the edges. And I used this centre punch to mark out where I wanted the drill to, drill. I started off with a 6mm drill bit as a pilot hole for bigger drill bits to punch through. I could make a gay joke out of that one, but I won't. This time. After drilling so much, the metal got really hot and started to smoke, which blunted the drill bit, and pinned the dagger to the wood. A bit of brute force sorted that problem. No problem. To clear out some more metal, I used the grinder again to join the drill holes and to make the gap big enough to fit my rectangular bastard file into. Once it was mission accomplished, I tiresomely filed away the remaining dead space. I brought back the round file to finish up the round top and bottom. Later on, I had to wrap the handle with some leather cord, so I needed to drill 2 holes, 2.5mm wide, for the 2 ends of the cord. However, the first hole didn't go so well. The drill was in the wrong setting. Oops. Moving right along to shaping the blade, which turned out to be a complicated step. First, I had to make the blade angle like a triangle from the base to the point at the tip. Here's the theory behind it. So here is what would happen if the height of the blade stayed the same along the length, but the width decreased as we got closer to the tip. The angle at which the edge would not be the same or consistent at any point in length. In fact, it would just increase the closer you got to the tip, and that just wouldn't look right. So instead, if the height of the blade decreased proportionally or similarly to how the width decreased along the length, then the angle on the edge should be consistent. Theoretically. Now, with the justification out the way, I got back to working on grinding the blade to the right shape. Afterwards, I used my belt sander to ensure the top was flat. This made the metal extremely hot. Even with these thick gloves on, I cut my fingers several times. I repeated the same process for the other side, being more careful not to hold it down for too long on the belt. Any overhang from grinding the metal I quickly removed with soft touches from the sanding wheel. Very nice. Now it was time to sharpen the edges. Before that, I drew the outline of the spine on each side and then used my grinder to carefully angle the edges into a ridge on each side, avoiding leaking over into the outline of the spine. After using the grinder, I whipped out my back file again and gently pulled it along the edge of the blade to flatten the angle and to sharpen the edges. By this point, the tip of the blade was no longer sharp, because, while using the grinder, the thin metal got hot quicker, causing it to bend and melt away. At this point, it was too far gone to try and fix, which kept me up at night. So, to help me sleep, I came up with the motto, "It's only handmade," meaning there's only so much I can do with these pathetic mortal hands that an expensive machine couldn't do better. But I digress. With the blade fully shaped and sharpened, I got to making the handle look more pretty. I used my mouse sander to scrub away the top black layer of metal, giving the dagger a uniform colour. It was at this point that the spine faded amongst the rest of the blade and basically disappeared. But you know what? It's only handmade. To make the edges that weren't the blade less razor sharp, I filed a slight bevel onto all edges, which I probably should have done much sooner. Now, to make the dagger look more presentable and blinding to the eyes, I'm using several different grades of sanding doohickeys to achieve a smooth look. Here we have sandpaper with grits of 150, 240 and 320, a sand cardboard used in silversmithing with a grit of fairly fine, a sanding sponge with grit of pretty fine, and steel wool that has a grit of fine as hell. I started with the 150 grit sandpaper and worked my way up from there. I make sure to sand away any scratches as best as I can, but in the end, it's only handmade. Before polishing the metal, I clean off all dirt, dust and fingerprints using this nice clean sock. As polish, I'm using this compound stuff in black along with this polishing head on my Dremel. I soak the polishing head in polish and proceed to apply it all over the dagger, on every surface and in every crevice. I rub away any remaining polish with this sock again and move on to applying a wax protection layer. For this I'm using this beeswax and my other sock to scrub the wax all over the dagger in generous quantities, enough to make the bees jealous. The wax I had hoped would prevent the steel from rusting, however, to my disappointment, it didn't work. I know, what a waste of a sock. Instead, I ended up investing in this rust shield spray paint, which worked fantastic against the rust, but instead gave the metal a dull, plasticky look, which annoyed me for a while until I forgot what it looked like before. The last thing to do now is to wrap the handle. For this I'll be using 2mm wide black leather cord. I start off by supergluing one end of the cord through the first hole. Following the images carefully, I wrap the cord round through the centre channel, following the motion as if you were a child drawing a sideways 8. Once I'd made as many passes through the middle as could fit, I glued the end of the cord into the other hole and cut off any excess. Now the dagger is complete. But right back at the beginning of the project, I thought to myself that one dagger simply isn't cool enough. So I secretly made a second one off camera. This one, I am much happier with how it turned out in the end. The edges are much sharper, and the point is deadly. But don't worry, I don't intend on using them for anything more than a showpiece, and maybe even a cool letter opener. Now, let's finish off with the showcase. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed by leaving a like and a comment. Also, comment any suggestions you'd like to see me attempt to make in the future. Additionally, if you'd like to keep in the loop with this channel's development, consider subscribing. It's not like you're signing your life away or anything. See you later.